The handover. The conference room smelled of old coffee and polished wood, the same scent that had permeated my life for 14 years. I'd spent more hours in this building than in any home I'd ever lived in. Matthews Commercial Construction wasn't just a company to me. It was my bloodstream, my heartbeat, my unfinished blueprint. My father, Robert Matthews, cleared his throat. At 62, he still had the bearing of a man who commanded sites filled with steel and concrete. To his right sat my mother, Helen, her smile tight and practiced. To his left was my sister, Clara. At 34, 2 years my junior, she wore a tailored blazer and an expression of serene entitlement. She'd been back from New York for exactly 1 year. "Ethan?" My father's voice cut through the hum of the air conditioner. "Did you hear what I said?" I blinked, pulling my gaze from the framed photograph on the wall behind him, the ribbon cutting of the Harrington Tower, our crowning achievement, my design, my sweat, my 3 sleepless nights perfecting the modular construction method that won us the bid. "Sorry, what?" "Clara will be taking over as CEO when I retire next year," he repeated, as if announcing a minor scheduling change. "This doesn't change your position. You'll still be operations manager. Your role is secure." Secure. The word hung in the air like a prison sentence. Clara offered me a smile that was equal parts sympathy and triumph. "Ethan," her voice honeyed with a newfound corporate tenderness, "I hope you know how much I value your expertise. I couldn't do this without you." The silence that followed was profound. Logan, our family lawyer, became intensely interested in the grain of the mahogany table. My mother's knuckles were white where she clasped her hands. "Why?" The word was out before I could cage it. "Why Clara and not me?" My father's eyes, the same hazel as mine, wouldn't meet my gaze. "We've discussed this. Clara has the vision for where the company needs to go. She's better with people. The clients love her. You're brilliant with operations, with the technical side, but I'm not CEO material," I finished for him. "That's not what I'm saying." But it was. It was exactly what he was saying. The son who knew every stress load, every cost code, every foreman by name, was the backstage crew. The daughter, with 1 year in marketing and a flair for client dinners, was the star. My mother leaned forward. "Darling, you're a crucial part of the company. You'll be the power behind the throne. Clara will need your support." Behind the scenes. The phrase was a physical blow. That's where I'd always been. The silent engine in the dark while others stood in the spotlight and took the bows. Clara stood and rounded the table, taking my hands in hers. They were smooth, unmarked by calluses or concrete dust. "Ethan, this partnership will be amazing. You know the operations inside and out, and I can bring in the big clients. We'll be unstoppable together." I looked into her eyes and saw only unshakable confidence. She genuinely believed she deserved this. She believed the narrative they had all written, that charisma was heavier than competence. "Congratulations," I said, my voice flat as a surveyor's plane. I withdrew my hands. "If you'll excuse me, I have work to finish." I walked out, ignoring my mother's call, and the familiar hallway of Matthews Construction seemed to warp and narrow. The photos on the wall, my father with mayors, my father with clients, Clara at a recent charity gala, taunted me. I was in none of them. I was the one who had made those moments possible from the foundations up. That night, on my balcony with a bottle of whiskey, I stared at the city skyline. The Harrington Tower winked back, a monument to my dedication. My phone buzzed. "Clara, hey bro, I know today was a shock. Let's grab lunch tomorrow and talk through the transition. I value your input more than anyone's." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop to a fresh document. The heading was simple: Exit Strategy. The decision crystallized with cold clarity. If 14 years of sacrifice, the 70-hour weeks, the missed birthdays, the relationships that crumbled under the weight of my absence meant this little, then my dedication would be recalibrated to match. Effective immediately, I would work my contracted hours, nothing more. I would take my vacation days. I would stop carrying the company on my back. And I would quietly, methodically, seek a future that valued the architect as much as the facade. The unraveling. The next morning, I arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, an hour late by my old standards. The sky didn't fall. "Everything okay, Ethan?" Grace, the receptionist, asked, her eyes wide. "Never better." When Clara came for her transition lunch, I declined. "Can't, I've got plans." "Plans?" Her smile faltered. "Ethan, don't be like this." "Like what? I'm doing my job, exactly my job. Nothing more, nothing less." The first test came with the West Ridge bid, a crucial healthcare sector project we'd courted for years. Clara, eager to prove her worth, handled it. She sent the final bid for my review on a Thursday, due Friday. It wasn't on my schedule. "I can look at it next week," I told her. "The bid is due Friday." Then someone should have scheduled it with me sooner. I turned back to my screen. "I'm sure you can handle it. You're better with clients after all." We lost Westridge by a razor-thin margin, a rookie error in the materials estimate, the kind I would have caught in 30 seconds, priced us out. My father summoned me. His face was florid with rage. "What the hell is going on? We lost Westridge because of you." "I believe Clara was handling that bid." "She needed your eye, your expertise." "And she had it during my business hours, my contracted business hours." The standoff was set. I attended meetings only within my strict window. When the Harrington Group's CFO, Alexander Pierce, specifically requested me for an 8:30 a.m. meeting, I arrived at 9:30, as my calendar allowed. The first hour had been a shambles. My father and Clara floundered on technical details. When I entered and seamlessly dissected their project plan, offering innovative solutions, Alexander's relief was palpable. Afterwards, he pulled me aside. "Matthews got the Harrington account because of you, Ethan. Your creativity, your detail." He handed me a card. "If you ever decide to make a change, call me." The card felt like a key in my pocket. The dam broke a month later. Clara, in a desperate play to impress Alexander, promised an impossible timeline for a new Harrington development, 5 months shorter than feasible without a 45% budget increase. When Alexander demanded we honor her promise, my father stormed into my office, ashen. "Harrington is reconsidering all future projects. $18 million, Ethan. You have to fix this. Call Alexander." I leaned back. "That sounds like a CEO problem, or an heir problem. Is that what this is? You'll let the company burn to prove a point?" "I'm recognizing that my investment now matches the company's investment in me." In a panic, they offered a truce, co-CEOs, a 60-40 ownership split in my favor upon his retirement. It was everything I'd wanted, served on a platter of their desperation. It tasted like ash. "What I needed," I told them across my mother's formal dining room table that night, "was for you to see my value before the crisis, to choose me because I earned it, not because you're drowning." My father's eyes hardened. "So what are you saying?" I placed the envelope on the linen tablecloth. "I'm saying I'm done. My resignation. I've accepted the role of Chief Operations Officer at Harrington Development." The silence was explosive. Clara gasped. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. "You're going to work for Alexander, our biggest competitor?" My father whispered, the betrayal hitting him like a physical blow. "I'm not your enemy, Dad. I'm just not your safety net anymore." The reckoning. The 3-week transition was a frostbitten purgatory. I documented my processes, ensuring the loyal employees I left behind wouldn't suffer for my family's mistakes. My father communicated only by terse email. Clara cycled between tears and icy silence. On my last day, as I packed my final box, my father appeared in my empty office doorway. The Harrington Group formally withdrew all future projects, he said, his voice stripped of emotion. They're following you. I know. He nodded, a world of understanding and regret in the gesture. You always were a man of your word. He extended his hand. Good luck, Ethan. I mean that. I shook it. To Matthew's construction as well. He turned to leave, then stopped. The door is always open, if you ever want to come home. This hasn't been my home for a long time, Dad. You made sure of that. I drove away from the building, the Matthews sign shrinking in my rearview mirror. I didn't look back. The ascent. At Harrington, I wasn't the overlooked son. I was the prized acquisition. With full authority, I streamlined operations, implemented new efficiencies, and drove profitability up 25% in 6 months. The board greenlit my expansion plan for West Coast offices. I had not just a seat at the table, I was helping to build a bigger, better table. The satisfaction was profound, yet tempered. The victory felt complete, yet somehow hollow in its solitude. 8 months after my departure, as I reviewed blueprints in Alexander Pierce's corner office, he looked at me thoughtfully. "You've heard about your family?" he asked gently. I had. The industry gossip was unavoidable. Matthews had lost the Westmore project. Rumors of liquidity problems swirled. I'd trained myself not to care. I have. Family is complicated, he mused, not unkindly. Later that evening, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. It was Grace, the former receptionist. "Ethan," her voice was hushed, urgent. "I thought you should know. Your father had a heart attack last night. Stress-related. He's stable, but the company's in real trouble, Ethan. There are 45 families here. Good people." The news landed not with schadenfreude, but with the heavy, quiet sadness. The man who had built an empire and then misplaced its heir was broken by it. The company that had been my entire world was crumbling. After a long moment staring at the city I was now helping to reshape, I called Clara. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice thin and frayed. "Ethan?" "Grace called. How is he?" "Stable." A shuddering breath. "The doctors say he needs to reduce stress, but the company, we're going to lose the Miller contract. Suppliers want cash up front. Ethan, I don't know what to do. I'm in so far over my head." 8 months ago, those words would have been a sweet, vindictive melody. Now they were just tragic. The golden child was drowning in a gilded cage of her own making. "I'm on my way to the hospital," I said. "You'll do that after everything?" I thought of the 45 families, of Grace, of the legacy my grandfather had started, not as a throne for a favorite child, but as a livelihood for dozens. My revenge was complete. I had proven my worth beyond any doubt. I had built my own kingdom. True power wasn't in watching them fall, it was in having the strength to decide if, when, and how to offer a hand up from your new unassailable height. "I'm not making any promises," I said finally, my voice calm, the voice of a man who no longer had anything to prove. "But yes, I'll come. We'll talk." As I drove toward the hospital, the Harrington Tower glinting in my periphery, I understood the final, most potent form of revenge. It wasn't destruction, it was transcendence. It was reaching a summit so high that you could look down on the past without malice, with the clear-eyed power to choose your next move, entirely on your own terms. The boy who was told he could only work behind the scenes was now writing the script, and this next act was his to dictate. And that was Ethan's blueprint for revenge, not by burning the house down, but by building a taller, stronger skyscraper right next door. Sometimes the greatest power move isn't a confrontation, it's a quiet exit, followed by unparalleled success. It's letting your worth become so undeniable that your absence is the only lesson they need. If you believe in turning betrayal into fuel for your own empire, hit subscribe. The next story is about a woman who used her husband's infidelity as the foundation for a multi-million-dollar brand. You won't want to miss it. Until then, Remember, the best revenge is a legacy they can see from their rearview mirror, but to never reach.